So today I want to start somewhat of a mini-series here on the channel, talking about some of the themes that are prevalent in Samurai Jack, since there is a lot of symbolism within the series. So today I wanted to talk about the theme of conquering your inner demons. Now, what I mean by inner demons is basically things or thoughts that are kind of within yourself or within your mind that hold you back or keep you from being good or keep you in the dark side, so to speak. And on the surface level, it is a good versus evil, light versus dark kind of thing. But if you look a little bit more into it, especially within the context of real world and real life, then it can have a lot more and a lot deeper meaning to us as people. So inner demons could be anything from fear, anger, hate, greed, loss of hope especially, things like that, things that are considered to be bad, essentially. And basically, characters who kind of conquer these things using the good side of them, or basically just overcoming them through sheer force of will. And this theme is very prevalent through a lot of the Samurai Jack series, especially in Season 5 of Samurai Jack, and in other media as well, including Harry Potter with Harry Potter versus Voldemort. Harry Potter kind of stands for the light side, Voldemort stands for the dark side, or the evil side, especially with Dr. Jekyll, Mr. Hyde, who is the same body with two different parts to him. You have the good Dr. Jekyll and the evil monster, Mr. Hyde. Hamlet, of course, does this a lot as well, with the character Hamlet dealing with a lot of inner turmoil, inner thoughts of revenge, anger, all that stuff. And another great example of this is in The Lord of the Rings with Boromir's character and his desire to get the ring from Frodo and use it, and kind of his greed, and spoilers for Lord of the Rings Fellowship of the Ring, he ends up conquering that inner demon and his greed to help Frodo and Sam escape the orcs, and even going so far as to sacrificing his life for them. Now, probably the greatest example of this light versus dark, good versus evil, conquering your inner demons is, of course, Star Wars. Obviously, you have the light side of the Force and you have the dark side of the Force. So there is this constant struggle in those films of these characters dealing with their anger and, of course, dealing with their fear. And, of course, as Yoda has said, fear is the path to the dark side. Fear leads to anger, anger leads to hate, hate leads to suffering. And we see this exemplified at the end of Return of the Jedi, spoilers for that if you haven't seen it for some reason, when he is finally able to pull himself out of the dark side, of course with the help of his son Luke Skywalker, and embraces the light side of the Force, finally pulling himself out of the dark side and defeating the Emperor and kind of saving the day. So this theme is very prevalent throughout a lot of movies, a lot of fiction, and it definitely is no stranger to Samurai Jack. And the first example I have of this being used in Samurai Jack is in episode 8 of season 1, Jack versus Mad Jack. So Jack is constantly being attacked by bounty hunters, and during this episode, his frustration keeps rising, he keeps getting more angry, until his sandal breaks a little bit, and he finally just explodes in anger, throws his sandal, and then that's where Mad Jack appears, kind of the embodiment of Jack's anger and rage. So they have a very symbolic fight with Jack versus Mad Jack, and actually the real Jack is starting to become consumed with this anger and starts getting angry and yelling, and his hair is all down and messed up. So they have this symbolic fight, but luckily Jack is able to realize what's happening, that he is letting his anger take control of him, and finally meditates, calms himself down, and kind of lets the good part of him flow through and eliminate Mad Jack. And you could say this about the Hulk as well, Dr. Bruce Banner, and then he gets mad, which is where the anger comes in, and he turns into the Hulk. Gets the whole symbolism of Bruce Banner trying to control his inner anger and his inner rage to keep the Hulk from going out. Now, this was obviously a very great example of conquering your inner anger and dealing with anger by calming your mind and conquer the inner rage that's inside yourself. Now, the next example I have is from episode 7, season 2, Jack and the Monks. And this is more in the vein of giving up hope and kind of giving up on yourself, so to speak. So in this episode, Jack kind of takes it upon himself to climb this mountain that nobody's ever climbed before or something. And he's following these monks as well. So during this climb, he keeps getting attacked by stronger and stronger monsters until he faces one they can't quite get past because of the freezing cold, and he's getting tired, exhausted, and he finally lays down and kind of gives up, sort of. That is until he starts getting flashes of the past of the people enslaved by Aku, and his mother and the monks are kind of talking to him like in his mind or something. And then he realizes what's happening there is that he's losing hope for his mission, and he's kind of getting sidetracked from his mission by trying to conquer this mountain instead of conquering Aku and his mission to destroy Aku and return to the past, or vice versa. So he kind of pushes himself, regains his hope, and is successful in climbing the rest of the mountain, and yells at Aku that he's never gonna give up. So in that vein, he kind of conquered the part of him that was telling him to give up, that negative voice in his head saying, what's the point of all this? Just give up, just lay down and give up, there's no point. Now, speaking to the fear aspect of this one is a little more loose, I think. It was the haunted house episode from season 3, episode 9 of Samurai Jack. I think it was called Jack and the Haunted House, in which Jack goes to a haunted house. He meets this family who is kind of enslaved or trapped by this evil demonic spirit. So you could use this as an example of him conquering fear when the demon traps him and sucks in like his soul or courage, if you want to say that. And Jack sees all the other people that the demon has trapped, and he's able to like push through, get his sword out, and have an epic battle with the demon. And you could say symbolically conquers his fear by conquering that very scary demon. So going on to episode 4 of season 4 of Samurai Jack, you have the Aku infection. So this is more in the light of good versus evil. Evil is taking you over. So Aku is sick, spits up something, Jack swallows it, and it starts infecting him with evil through the inside. And throughout the episode, Jack is getting angry for no reason. He starts becoming more and more like Aku. Or if you want to use Dr. Jekyll, Mr. Hyde, Samurai Jack is Dr. Jekyll, the Aku part of him is Mr. Hyde. So eventually he makes it to these salamander monks for help, and at this point, the evil has taken him over to a point where it's controlling his actions, and he attacks the salamanders and destroys their portal, but luckily, they're able to subdue him, put him over their hot spring to kind of try to help him heal, but the main salamander tells him that they can't help him. He has to destroy this darkness within himself from the inside. So of course, Jack feels like he's going to lose, but inside, as he is consumed by all this darkness, you see that this full-on Samurai Jack is the light in the darkness. He is surrounded by a darkness, but Jack has within himself this bright light of hope, this goodness, this righteous nature. And so he uses this to attack the overwhelming darkness that's infecting him and changing him. And he's saying, no, this isn't who I am. I am Samurai Jack and I am the light. So he uses this light and pure side of him to slash the crap out of the infection and breaks himself free of evil. So this is definitely a very big theme, especially when we move on to season 5 of Samurai Jack. So at the beginning of season 5, we see Jack, we see that he's almost given up all hope. He almost doesn't save a family that's in trouble, which is not a good sign. That is until Ashi comes along. They have a couple of adventures together to where they're actually working together to save a town's children until he thinks that they are dead, and that kind of crushes what little hope he had left, and he goes to commit seppuku. So in this scene, we have kind of a similar, in a way, scene to Luke Skywalker, Darth Vader, where Luke Skywalker is trying to pull Darth Vader from the dark side. In this scene, Ashi is trying to pull Jack from the dark side, basically, from the side of him that's telling him to give up, that's telling him there is no hope, you're worthless, there is no point to you being alive, just give up. So with her help, he's able to conquer those demons that are telling him to do those things. They're telling him to give up and kill himself, which was really awesome. And of course, a little bit later on, with that little boost of hope that she helps him get, they go to retrieve his sword and get his sword back. But of course, he's kind of lost his worthiness. So he goes to reclaim it basically by meditating, by saying, you know, I have lost this hope. I have let this anger and fear take over who I am, but that's not really who I am. I am Samurai Jack, and I am this light of justice, you know? So he makes the awful tasting tea, which is kind of a reflection of who he has become, and he says, no, I'm going to embrace the good side of me again, because that is who I truly am. I am this good person. And he opens his eyes and flashes the negative Jack out of existence, and overcame that darkness within himself. So the theme of conquering your demons doesn't only apply to Jack, especially in season 5, it really applies to Ashi as well, quite a bit. You know, at the beginning of the series, she's this seemingly evil assassin whose sole purpose it is to kill Samurai Jack. But of course, as time goes on, you see that there is this good side to her. And in episode 1, we see a little bit of a snippet to this good person when she sees the ladybug and it gets crushed by her mother. But we do see her conquer this dark side part of her in the scene where we see her as a kid getting dropped into the fire, kind of creating or giving birth to this evil side of her, which isn't who she truly is. And she's saying, you know what, this is not who I am, this is not who I want to be. I feel that I am this good person. So she uses the water in the pond and a rock to kind of scrape away this dark part of her, thereby conquering the evil side of her and embracing this good Ashi. And another little bit of symbolism in this is nature and water equaling good and light, whereas technology and fire symbolizing Aku and the darkness and evil. And so as she has embraced this good part of her, she still has that little bit of darkness inside herself, as we all have a little bit of darkness inside ourselves in the form of fear, anger, loss of hope, and all those negative things, and how we all should embrace the good side of ourselves and, in essence, destroy the anger that we have and destroy the fear and overcome our inner demons. So of course, she still has this part of Aku inside her, and as we see in episode 9 of Samurai Jack season 5, Aku shows up and kind of opens the floodgates for this dark part of her to take her over. And Samurai Jack really does a great job with symbolizing these demons in the form of Mad Jack, in the form of the Aku infection, and of course with Ashi's character with, you know, Aku being her father and everything, which is indeed a very serious and very difficult darkness and evil, or quite literal inner demon, to rise above. So I really hope you enjoyed this episode of Themes of Samurai Jack. I hope to do more of these kind of videos in the future, kind of analyzing symbolism and the themes of the series. And if you enjoyed this video, please share it and give it a like. And of course, if you have any thoughts on the subject, comment them below. As always, thank you very much for watching, and I'll see you later.